Ancient Chinese laws that still shape our lives today. What if I told you that laws created over 2,000 years ago in ancient China still influence how we live today? From justice systems and community responsibilities to social welfare and even how we greet one another, ancient Chinese legal codes were not just about control, they were about building a functional society. But how much of that ancient wisdom still applies in the modern world? Ancient China was not a monolith, it was a series of powerful dynasties, each with its own approach to governance and law. Yet, across the centuries, a consistent theme emerged: the pursuit of social harmony and order. Legal systems were deeply influenced by Confucianism, which emphasized values like respect for hierarchy, filial piety, and moral conduct, and by legalism, which advocated for strict laws and harsh punishments to maintain control. Under the Qin dynasty, 221 to 206 BCE, China's first imperial dynasty, laws were famously severe. Crimes like stealing could result in mutilation or death. But the Qin also standardized weights, measures, currency, and even writing, laying the legal groundwork for a unified China. One of the more fascinating legal requirements was that clothing had to reflect your social status. Nobles wore silk with specific colors and patterns, while peasants were restricted to coarse hemp. This was not just fashion, it was law. The goal? Maintain visual order in society and reinforce the rigid class hierarchy. Similar laws governed greetings. The type of bow or gesture you used to greet someone varied by your and their status. It was not just etiquette, it was legally enforced, and a wrong move could be seen as an insult or even treason. The Qin dynasty also banned certain types of music, believing that emotionally expressive songs could lead to rebellion. This was part of a broader attempt to control culture and public sentiment. Music, theater, and literature were regulated to align with state ideology. This might sound extreme, but modern governments still regulate media, music, and public expression. The roots of that can be traced back to these early legal philosophies. Another striking law required citizens to report any crime they witnessed or risk punishment themselves. This created a form of collective responsibility, where the burden of law enforcement was shared by the entire community. Failure to report could result in fines, beatings, or worse. It is a concept that echoes today in neighborhood watch programs or laws that require reporting certain crimes, like child abuse or threats to public safety. In some dynasties, entire families or villages could be held accountable for an individual's crime. This was a legal strategy to enforce moral behavior by embedding it in social pressure. Not all ancient laws were harsh. Some were surprisingly progressive. Wealthy landowners were legally required to provide support for the poor, an early form of social welfare. During the Han Dynasty, laws mandated the distribution of grain during times of famine and even provided tax relief to the elderly and disabled. These initiatives were rooted in Confucian ideals of benevolence and social responsibility, echoing modern systems like welfare programs and public health policies. Laws also tightly regulated family structure. Women were typically required to marry within their class, and divorce was rare and socially stigmatized. Men could divorce for a list of specific offenses, while women had almost no legal right to initiate separation. Despite the inequality, these laws emphasized family stability, seen as the cornerstone of a harmonious society. Even today, ideas about marriage, loyalty, and family roles across East Asia and beyond carry echoes of these ancient norms. What makes ancient Chinese law fascinating is that it was never static. As dynasties rose and fell, Qin, Han, Tang, Song, Ming, laws evolved alongside philosophy, religion, and technology. Buddhism, for instance, introduced more compassionate values during the Tang dynasty, softening legal codes and promoting forgiveness. And yet, many foundational principles endured: hierarchy, respect for authority, social responsibility, and the pursuit of harmony. Today, modern Chinese law still reflects some of these ancient ideals. Even globally, ideas like mandatory reporting, structured punishment systems, state control of culture, and emphasis on family roles show the enduring influence of these early codes. The laws of ancient China were more than rules. They were reflections of the values, fears, and hopes of one of history's greatest civilizations. And while times have changed, many of those laws, and the ideas behind them, still shape how we live today. So here's the question: what ancient law do you think would improve, or harm, our modern world if it were reintroduced today? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like if you learned something new, subscribe for more deep dives into history and culture, and share this video with someone who thinks ancient laws do not matter anymore, because sometimes the oldest rules still hold the most wisdom.